Hey, this is Patrick Durkin for the Wellness Enterprise. Please excuse my background. I'm traveling and this is what I got. I was recently interviewed about structured water and some questions spilled over into issues related to some suffering I've had with regard to Lyme disease. And people have been tracking me down and asking me questions about that. So I thought I would just make a video and communicate my experience for all of you so that we can spread this information more widely. So the first thing to say is that this is not medical advice. I'm only sharing my experience. If you are looking for medical advice, please seek the opinion of your doctor. I have no capacity to heal, treat, or cure any disease. So I've been suffering from Lyme disease for somewhere between 10 and 20 years. Although I'll get very specific about what aspect I think I've been suffering from. And that has caused me from the age of 31 to 51 to not be able to play tennis, which tennis is a really great love for me in this life. So I finally got with a functional medicine practitioner and an extensive blood panel was done. And what it revealed was the co-infections that go with Lyme, not the technical Lyme disease. Like if you went to the CDC and said, does this man have Lyme? They would say no. But if you looked at the suffering and the co-infections, you'd say he's got the co-infections. And you know what it got down to is by last summer, it was running so strongly in my body, I couldn't lie on my left side of my body. It just was too painful to just put any pressure on my leg, let alone play tennis. So I went through a series of steps, and I'm going to share my experience with you now, which began with taking baking soda. And I just put it on a spoon, a little bit, put it in my mouth. You can start with a little, you can move toward more. I probably take a teaspoon or 2 or 3. Now maybe 4. And I just take it and I put it in my mouth. It feels really dry and chalky at first. And I just swirl it around in the saliva and I keep it in my mouth for as long as I can stand it. When I put a ton of baking soda in, my lips get kind of dried out and it reaches the point where I need to spit it out. When I only take a little, I can keep it for like 20 minutes. So just do your best. Keep it in your mouth for as long as you can if you decide to try something like that. That's what I did. And the first time I did the baking soda, I did it at 9:30 p.m. and at about 4 a.m. I woke up with a horrendous cramp along the top of my stomach. And it took me a little while to figure out, oh, this is a die-off. Like this is what that feels like. So I highly recommend the baking soda. And then the baking soda may cause a die-off, so, you know, get medical advice from your doctor and work that out or do testing on your own, but I'm just sharing my experience. So then the next thing that I started doing is I take food-grade hydrogen peroxide and I put 1 ounce in a spray bottle and then I put 11 ounces of distilled water in. And when I get out of the shower in the morning, I spray the hydrogen peroxide up and down the front and back of my body. My understanding is that what happens sometimes is I feel a lot of what I would describe as like being bitten, a lot of little bites that are kind of annoying because there's so many of them. And then there's some days where I don't feel anything. So my interpretation is that those bites are spirochetes and that when there aren't any, that I'm doing well in the war on spirochetes in my body. I don't really like the word war, but there just seems to be quadrillions of them and I'm taking the action to them, and that's the vocabulary that I use for it. So I use the hydrogen peroxide to know whether there are spirochetes on my skin or not. It's like the baking soda drives them out and the hydrogen peroxide drives them in. If spirochetes, as I understand it, know they're dying, they'll bite you, they'll hurt you, there'll be a detox reaction. If they don't know, then there's no pain. So that's where sarsaparilla came in. And I started taking 10 to 20,000 milligrams per day of sarsaparilla. I just used a powder, nothing too amazing or formal. I also purchased a large amount of extract from Star West Botanicals, and I would take the extract because it's very concentrated and just take a sip of it as another way to deal with the spirochetes. So baking soda, hydrogen peroxide, sarsaparilla, and then I added a very commonly talked about drug these days. I don't really want to say the name in the video. I don't want any attention for what it is that I'm doing, which is just sharing my experience. But the name of the drug has IVM in it, and it's like Ivor something. You can probably figure it out from there. And what I found was that was really impactful. I kind of feel like I'm at war with a whole army of spirochetes, and every time I find a new way to get at them, I get some relief. So the great news is about 6 weeks after I started with the baking soda, I was able to return to the tennis court. I was able to play twice a week or so, and then about 5 months after that, I started being able to play racket sports. I added pickleball to my repertoire, which was a lot of fun. And I was able to play like 5-6 times a week. So I'm healthy and fit now. I feel strong. I'm playing racket sports all the time. And I hope in some way that my experience might help you. I know how debilitating it can be to have Lyme. I know how confusing it can. And, you know, I'm just thinking of the experiences I've had as being really simple. There's a ton of bacteria and parasites, and my job is to feed them in lots of ways that they don't like. One other chapter that I did was a combination of black walnut and wormwood. So just lots of herbs. So however you can get at them, get at them. And in the future, we may be offering herbs and these type of things on Lovonya.com, L-O-V-O-N-Y-A, Lovonya.com. If you're interested, the website's very primitive right now, but feel free to go there and sign up. And I anticipate doing a lot more leading and messages from that platform in the future. But for now, I just hope this helps you. And if you have additional questions and don't feel like you can get answers elsewhere, you know, go ahead and email support@thewellnessenterprise.com, support@thewellnessenterprise.com. It's kind of long. And we'll do our best to respond to you or make another video to answer your questions. Good luck with your health.